Informal Inventory of Independence and Self-Advocacy Skills Checklist. Documenting deaf and hard of hearing students' skills is important in the individual program plan. In doing so, students are better prepared for the various transitions they will experience between grades, to other schools, and also to the community outside of school. This inventory checklist is not a tool to measure whether your child's abilities are appropriate for their age level or grade level. It can be used for children of all ages, and especially for very young children, so that they can develop these skills early on and carry them throughout their lives. There are 5 areas we can monitor for independence and self-advocacy skills. I will list them here and explain each one in further detail. The first one is engagement as a student. IPP meetings, peer interaction, community, and finally, the use of an educational interpreter. This inventory looks at different aspects of a learning environment to enhance levels of engagement. For promoting self-advocacy and independence, we can look at various components of the school day. The checklist identifies the duties of a student. For example, they should be able to do the following: keep track of a schedule and manage time independently. Keep track of their assignments and materials. Follow directions without assistance. Take care of their own assistive technology needs. Things such as hearing aids, their cochlear implant, FM system, and they should also take responsibility for completing assignments and long-term projects. These are all important components for self-advocacy and independence in your classroom. Deaf and hard of hearing students should be able to attend and participate in their IPP meetings, as well as the transition planning from elementary to junior high and from junior high to high school. It is also important that the deaf and hard of hearing students participate in planning their own transitions to the community, workforce, and post-secondary studies. You will want to monitor and determine if your deaf and hard of hearing student has the following skills. Does your student participate in IPP meetings and transition planning? Do they express personal opinions about their own educational program and services? Do they address the appropriate staff to ask for additional explanation or tutoring? Do they assist with training of staff members on issues related to communication access and support services needed in the classroom? Do they advocate for accessibility and technology needs? Do they inform staff of any specific needs in the classroom? And finally, do they have an understanding of how assistive devices support their learning? Peer interaction within the school day is an area that educators need to pay attention to in order to create a holistic school experience. In relation to advocacy and independence, there are some things that you can look out for. Does your deaf and hard of hearing student participate in class discussion and make comments relevant to the topic at hand? Do they play an active role in cooperative learning activities? Do they display appropriate social interaction with peers outside of the class? Do they request services to support communication access, such as calling an interpreter if needed? It is important that deaf and hard of hearing students are aware of the community in which they live and events related to the deaf and hard of hearing community. In order to show self-advocacy and independence, you may see some of the following. Do they have knowledge about the latest technology, like video phones or phone amplification? Are they aware of community service agencies and events for deaf and hard of hearing individuals? Do they have regular contact with other deaf and hard of hearing students and adults? Do they have an awareness of community activities like social clubs or athletic leagues? Some students may have access to educational interpreters in your classroom. When deaf and hard of hearing students have an interpreter, they should be able to demonstrate an understanding of the role of the interpreter. When using an interpreter or various accommodation services, an independent, self-advocating student should have the following skills. They should be able to pay attention to the interpreter, depending on the age of the student. They can recognize the importance of communication access. They can ask for clarification when an interpretation is unclear. Use an interpreter effectively during testing situations. Work with the interpreter to prepare for class presentations. They will also know how to limit personal conversations with the interpreter during instruction time. And finally, know the difference between an educational assistant and an educational interpreter. For help on how to appropriately use the Informal Inventory of Independence and Self-Advocacy Skills checklist, please contact your REX consultant.